Ladies and gentlemen, when a narcissist tries to control you, they're not looking for truth. They're looking for power. But there's one sentence, just one, that takes that power right out of their hands. Today, I'm going to give you that sentence, and I'll show you exactly how to deliver it so they never try it again. You know, the first thing a narcissist needs you to do, they need you to bite. They throw out a little jab, a twisted version of what happened, a dig at your character, and they're watching for one thing, your reaction. That's the hook. If they can get you to defend yourself, explain yourself, or prove yourself, they've already won half the battle. Because now you're playing their game on their board by their rules. Here's the thing. They don't start with something obvious. They start small. A comment that could be innocent or maybe not. You've been really distant lately. Well, I didn't think you'd react like that. Everyone else seems to agree with me. See, that's not just conversation. That's a lure. They want you to stop, look at them, and give your energy to clarifying, fixing, or fighting what they just said. The problem is, when you chase every comment they make, you're telling them, yes, my emotions are available for you to manipulate. And the moment they know they can get you to explain, they will keep you explaining until you're exhausted. That's how control works. It's not about big blow-ups. It's about tiny strings you don't notice until you're tangled in them. So spotting the hook means noticing that little tug in your chest when someone says something that just doesn't sit right. That moment you think, hold on, that's not fair, or that's not what happened. Your instinct is to jump in and correct it. But if you can pause there right in that moment, you've just created your first layer of defense. Here's a little trick. When they say something and you feel that flash of, I need to answer that, instead of speaking, ask yourself, if I don't answer, what happens? 9 times out of 10, the only thing that happens is they don't get the reaction they were fishing for. And that's a problem for them, not for you. You have to understand, narcissists aren't fueled by truth. They're fueled by your reaction. If you can start seeing their comments as fishing lines instead of actual statements about you, you won't feel the pull to bite. You'll hear you're overreacting. And instead of jumping into, no, I'm not, here's why, you'll think, oh, that's bait, and you let it drop. The reason spotting the hook is so powerful is because it shifts the entire dynamic. You go from reacting to observing. You go from being the person in the storm to the person watching the storm from a distance. And the minute they realize you're not stepping into the ring, their swings hit nothing but air. It's not about ignoring reality. It's about refusing to fight in the arena they've built for you. They thrive on drama, chaos, and confusion because that's where they have the advantage. But calm stillness, a lack of engagement, that's their kryptonite. Now, I'm not saying this is easy. In fact, the hardest part is the first time you try it. Your whole body is wired to defend yourself when someone twists your words or questions your intentions. But every time you resist that urge and instead clock it as bait, you train yourself to hold on to your power. And you train them to realize they can't just toss out a line and expect you to grab it. So start small. The next time someone drops a comment that feels off, don't rush to fix it. Don't rush to argue. Just notice that's step one. Because when you can spot the hook, you stop getting reeled in. And that's when you start winning the game without even playing it. Once you've spotted the hook, the next challenge is to keep yourself from getting dragged into it. And that's where detaching your emotion comes in. Now, this doesn't mean you stop feeling. You're human. You're going to feel frustrated, hurt, even angry when someone comes at you sideways. What I'm talking about is choosing not to hand those feelings over to the person who's trying to provoke you. It's about creating a little space between what they say and what you do next. See, narcissists don't just want you to hear their words. They want you to feel them. They want you to get rattled to second guess yourself, to come at them with everything you've got, so they can twist it back around and say, see, look at how you're acting. If you're all wounded up, they control the pace, the energy, and the frame of the conversation. But when you detach your emotion, you take that control away. You shift the interaction from their game to yours. That's when you start to respond instead of react. And here's the difference. Reacting is fast, unfiltered, and usually fueled by whatever emotion hits you in the moment. Responding is calm, measured, and intentional. It's the difference between throwing the first thing you grab and taking the time to aim. I want you to imagine you're standing on a dock and someone's splashing around in the water, yelling for you to jump in. You can panic and dive right in without thinking, or you can stay on the dock, take a breath, and decide how you're going to handle it. That pause, that's emotional detachment in action. It gives you time to remember what's really happening here. The fastest way to lose your footing with a narcissist is to make the conversation about your feelings instead of their behavior. Because the second they see they've stirred something up in you, they'll keep stirring. And here's the kicker. They're not trying to understand you. They're trying to control you. So why give them more to work with? One of the best ways to keep that detachment is to focus on your tone. When you lower your voice and slow your words, you send a signal to them and to yourself that you're not going to be rushed into an emotional corner. You're not matching their heat. You're controlling the temperature. And it's hard for someone to keep a fire going when you're not adding fuel. Another thing you can do is mentally separate the person from the truth. Just because someone says something doesn't make it true. You can hear it, acknowledge that they said it, and still not accept it as reality. That's where the power is, knowing that their words are just noise unless you give them weight. Sometimes this means letting a comment hang in the air without immediately answering it. That silence might feel uncomfortable at first, but it's often the most powerful move you can make. It tells them you're not rushing to justify yourself. You're not scrambling to fix the version of the story they just threw at you. You're simply not playing. The more you practice this, the more you'll notice a shift. They'll start testing you with sharper comments, maybe even trying to escalate things to get a reaction. That's when you know it's working because they're realizing the old buttons they used to push don't work anymore. And when those buttons stop working, their controls start slipping. So here's the mindset you keep in your back pocket. I'm not here to win their approval. I'm here to protect my peace. When you operate from that place, your emotions become yours again. And when your emotions are yours, so is your power. And that's the moment they realize they can't make you dance anymore. Once you've spotted the hook and you've kept your emotions from spilling into their hands, the next step is to take control of the pace. Because here's what most people don't realize. Narcissists thrive on speed. They want you moving fast. They want you rushing to answer. They want you talking, though, before you've had time to think. When you're in that mode, you're not choosing your words. You're scrambling to keep up. And when you're scrambling, you make mistakes. You say too much. You give them exactly what they were hoping for. That's where the power pause comes in. Slow your tone, drop your volume, control the rhythm. The second you take a beat before you answer, you shift the power back to you're no longer letting them set the tempo. You're setting it yourself. And that's dangerous for them because now they can't ride the momentum of their own manipulation. I'll tell you why this works. People who manipulate count on you to react in the heat of the moment. They count on you filling silence because silence makes most people uncomfortable. But when you pause, even for just 2 or 3 seconds, it sends a different message. I'm not playing catch up here. I'm deciding how this is going to go. And in those few seconds, something changes in your brain. You go from reacting to evaluating. You go from, I have to say something right now, to what's actually the best move here. It's almost like hitting the brakes in the middle of a conversation. Everything slows down, and that slowing down forces them to sit in the space they just created. And trust me, narcissists hate that space because it means they're not getting what they want. Instant compliance, instant explanation, instant emotional payoff. This is also where lowering your voice comes in. When you speak more slowly and quietly, people have to lean in to hear you. And in doing that, you subtly flip the roles. They're now following your lead. You're no longer chasing the pace they set. They're adjusting to yours. That's a small shift with a big impact. You might be thinking, but what if they try to interrupt? Good, let them. Because when you're calm and deliberate, their interruptions only highlight the fact that they're trying to dominate the exchange. And the more obvious that becomes, the more control you have, not by overpowering them, but by refusing to be pulled into their rhythm. The pause isn't just about how you speak, it's also about what you don't say. Sometimes the most powerful response is no immediate response at all. You let their comment sit there. You let it hang. That forces them to either repeat themselves or reveal more about what they're trying to do. Either way, you've bought yourself time and shifted the pressure back onto them. And here's the truth. Pausing doesn't just make them uncomfortable, it makes you stronger, because in that pause, you have a chance to remember your boundaries, to choose words that won't be twisted, and to keep your energy where it belongs, on you, not them. This takes practice. The first time you try it, those few seconds of silence might feel like an eternity. You might even feel the urge to fill it, just to make things less awkward. But that awkwardness is your ally. It's the exact thing that throws them off balance. It's the moment they realize you're not giving them the fast, heated, emotional back and forth they were banking on. So the next time you feel that pressure to rush your response, don't take the pause. Breathe. Lower your tone, and then only when you're ready, answer in a way that serves you, not them. Because the moment you control the pace, you control the conversation. By the time you spotted the hook, kept your emotions in check, and slowed the pace, you're ready for the part that seals it, the sentence itself. And here's the beauty of it. It's short, it's clear, and it's unshakable. That's your opinion, not my reality. Just 8 words. But they carry more weight than any long-winded defense you could ever give. This sentence works because it doesn't